Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching our in-depth video comparison between the Apple iPhone 5S and of course its close sibling in the Apple iPhone 5C. Two new iPhones, you're probably wondering which one to go to. We know that the 5S gets some nods when it comes to the hardware department and being the more premium device between the two. Whereas with the iPhone 5C, it starts off at a lower price point and has some flashy looking colors with its polycarbonate plastic casing. So we're going to compare these two and see exactly which is the right iPhone for you this time around. From the front, both handsets employ the same distinctive elements that make them classic looking iPhones, so it's really hard to tell them between the two. But as soon as we turn it around the back, that's where we notice the biggest difference. Now with the iPhone 5S, it maintains its predecessor's form factor and also its style, so it has the same design as before, whereas with the iPhone 5C, it's different with its polycarbonate plastic casing, and it's also available in a wide range of colors, so that's pretty neat. Something we always want to see with the iPhones, just more variety with the colors. With the iPhone 5S, it's available in three. We have space gray, white, and of course gold. Now it just depends on what you like. If you're more about the colors, of course the 5C is going to appeal to you, but if you want the more luxurious, more premium phone, then the iPhone 5S is going to be the one. Now when it comes to the in-the-hand feel, we actually prefer the iPhone 5C just because if you look around the edges, it's more curved versus the chamfered beveled edge on the iPhone 5S, so it really hugs your hand a lot better than the iPhone 5S. But you still can't deny that there's more of that luxurious feel with the iPhone 5C, so it's easily the more premium device between the two. Even though the iPhone 5S is attached as being the more premium device, the two actually share the same displays. 4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 640 by 1136 pixels, so it translates to a pixel density of 326 ppi, and honestly, no difference between two. Very detailed and sharp. Other aspects with their IPS LCD panels are also intact. For example, they have the same wide viewing angles and natural looking colors, very accurate, and they're both really great when it comes to outdoor visibility. So above their displays, we have their earpieces, their light and proximity sensors, and their front-facing 1.2 megapixel cameras. On the opposite side though, below the display, we notice something very different. We have their home buttons, but you can tell there's no square icon on the iPhone 5S's home button. They're both recessed, but it's a little bit deeper on the iPhone 5S. Now it actually incorporates a biometric fingerprint sensor dubbed as Touch ID. And the cool thing about that, and maybe a novel thing some people might view it as, is that it can actually unlock the device by just having you put your finger over it and unlock it. And on top of that, it's used to bypass having us to put in our passwords for any app purchases. Taking a look around the trim of both handsets, they feature the same ports and buttons with each other. So on the top edge, you have the dedicated physical home power buttons. So they're very raised, distinct, and have a good solid tactile feeling when you press them down. On the right side, we have the slots for their nano SIMs. The bottom, 3.5mm headset jacks, the lightning docking ports, their microphones, and also their internal speakers. And finally, on the left edge, we have their mute switch and their separated volume controls. And you can tell the shapes are different. It's circular on the iPhone 5S versus some flatter and more narrow ones on the 5C. And finally, the rear, we have their EyeSight cameras. Now, they're both 8 megapixels in size and they both offer backside illuminated sensors. But the iPhone 5S being the more supreme device, it has some better gear. It has actually a larger aperture lens, f2.2 versus f2.4 in the iPhone 5C. And on top of that, it has also larger size pixels, 1.5 micropixels versus 1.4 micropixels. So with that, you know it's going to improve when it comes to low lighting situations. Something we kind of expect with all iPhones. Neither handset offers expandable storage, so you got to make use of what they have. Now the iPhone 5S is available in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte capacities, whereas with the iPhone 5C, you have your choice of either 16 or 32 gigabytes. So the iPhone 5S has the newer gear, whereas the iPhone 5C sports the same hardware found with the iPhone 5. But the nice thing about them both is that they feature the same iOS 7 experience. So nothing different about them whatsoever compared to the previous version of iOS. Of course, iOS 7 just has some new updated enhancements to the presentation style. Very nice, and there's a lot of attention to detail that Apple has done with the platform. But still underneath it all, it's still very simple, intuitive, and easy to use. And there's nothing different between the experiences on these two handsets. Well, it's actually under the hood where we have a huge discrepancy just because the Apple iPhone 5s benefits with a snazzier processor versus the iPhone 5C. Now they're both 1.3 GHz dual-core processors at heart, but the iPhone 5s features the snazzier 64-bit base Apple A7 processor versus the Apple A6 processor in with the iPhone 5C. Now for basic things like opening up applications, generic things, kinetic scrolling, stuff like that, they both exhibit the same amount of responsiveness and fluidity, so no problems whatsoever. And even with current games out right now, for example, we're going to show you here Epic Citadel, we're going to run it, we don't notice any difference whatsoever between the performances between these two. Both are really nice and smooth, quick. The fluidity is the same, and even with something so intensive like this, it's still able to run fairly smooth. So it's going to be down the road where we're going to find the true telling with the iPhone 5s and its 64-bit processor. As developers fine-tune and take grab of the new processor, we're bound to see better results on the iPhone 5s. But for right now, the performance aren't any different between these two. Considering that we have the same size displays on both handsets and they're both super responsive with their performances, the messaging experience here is identical between them. The keyboard layout, same exact thing. It might be a little bit cramped for people with larger hands, but for normal or smaller hands, not a problem whatsoever. Top of that, it's very simple and easy to use, super responsive, and also features a nice autocorrect option which does well, so you can just keep on typing really quickly without any worry. Likewise, we could say the same thing about their web browsing experiences too. Both feature the updated mobile Safari, and they both have 4G LTE connectivity, so you have fast data speeds. And even though the benchmark scores prove that the iPhone 5s is superior versus the 5C, here with the web browser, surfing generic websites, even complex ones, you'd hardly notice a difference just because both are super responsive with kinetic scrolling and pinch zooming. And page rendering is also pretty instantaneous with the two, so you're going to like the experience on both. Of course, we're sad that cover flow is now gone with the music player on the iPhone, instead replaced by this grid-like view. But they're both the same, of course, seeing they're running iOS 7. The only difference here is just with the audio quality. They're both very rich and robust, but it's the iPhone 5s's internal speaker that emits a slightly stronger output than the iPhone 5C. High-definition videos play flawlessly, of course, on both handsets. There's some conversion needed to get high-definition videos on there, but you can tell once it's on, the playbacks are pretty much smooth. No slowdown or lag or stutter. And of course, the screens are identical, so you get some wide viewing angles, some natural colors, and it's also pretty good when it comes to outdoor visibility. So here's the camera app on both handsets. The presentation layout are identical. You have the viewfinder, the right side, you have your shutter keys, on the left side, some additional options. And they both feature the same things. You could take photos, you could snap videos if you want. You have a square mode for Instagram shots. You have the ability to take panoramic. And on top of that, you have the color modes available to you as well. So if you tap the buttons on the top right corner, you could preview all the different color modes that are available with the handsets, which is pretty neat. But the iPhone 5s benefits thanks to being the superior handset. It also features the slow motion video capture mode, which is pretty neat with its matrix-like effect. And now we come to the fun part with this comparison, people, their image quality with their respective cameras. Now, they both share the same 8-megapixel cameras, and they both offer backside illuminated sensors, but being the snazzier handset, the iPhone 5s benefits with some better camera gear. So it has a larger aperture lens, f2.2 versus an f2.4. At the same time, you also get larger size pixels with the iPhone 5s, so it jumps up to 1.5 micropixels from the 1.4 in the iPhone 5C. And with that, it's supposed to draw in more light, so in the end, it's supposed to offer better low lighting performance. So knowing all of that, you're probably wondering, how does the 5S fare against the 5C, seeing that we know it's going to offer better low lighting performance. Quite frankly, when it comes to outdoor shots where lighting is more than adequate, the difference in quality is negligible. They're both very sharp looking, to the point that they're pretty much identical with one another. They have some nice looking details, natural looking colors. It doesn't seem too warm or too cold. And on top of that, exposure is very balanced. So dynamic range is handled perfectly perfectly with the two handsets. But the biggest difference here is just in lower lighting situations. That's where we see the iPhone 5S excelling thanks to its larger size pixels and its larger aperture lens too. So it's able to capture in more light, and in turn it makes for better photos with lower lighting situations. So we do notice just a lot more noise found with the iPhone 5C's results versus the 5S, and it's just a little bit brighter in tone with the iPhone 5S's photos. And finally, there is the LED flash. The LED flash on the iPhone 5C has two different colors, an amber and white, so it does a better job of adapting to skin tones. Additionally, the same results extend with their 1080p high-definition video recording quality, and honestly, with outdoor samples, we don't notice any difference between the two. Both are fantastic. A lot of sharp-looking details, colors are nice and balanced, as well as exposure. It doesn't seem too jittery, and very minimal artifacting elements that pop up. But when it comes to lower lighting situations, again, it's the iPhone 5S nudging out its close sibling. Call quality is nearly identical as well, just because the earpieces on both emit some very strong and powerful tones, and voices through them have a very natural tone. But we do notice a slight difference when it comes to their speakerphone quality. With the iPhone 5S, voices tend to have a little bit of distortion, whereas with the iPhone 5C, we do notice some crackling. But besides that, they're more than audible. Fortunately, we're able to get at least a day of normal usage out of both handsets when they're fully charged. Now, with heavier usage, we notice that the iPhone 5C gives us a little bit more juice. In fact, we're able to get through 12 hours of heavy usage with a fully charged battery, whereas with the iPhone 5S, we're able to get to the 10-hour mark. Of course, it's going to come down to pricing. Now, if you're on a budget, you might want to take a look at the iPhone 5C because you're still getting a device that's not compromising with the experience. So first of all, you're only paying $100 to your contract to pick it up, and has these nice flashy looking colors, and it excels in all the areas you'd want it to. So taking photos, videos, its performance, the display is identical, so still a lot to like about it. But if you want the latest and greatest with all the cool hardware, you want to check out the iPhone 5S just because it's packing some neat goodies that you don't find on the 5C. For example, you're going to get a better camera for taking photos and videos. You have the Touch ID biometric fingerprint sensor in tow, and you also have things like slow motion video capture. So pretty neat. And for the performance and price, and even that 64-bit mobile processor, which probably will get optimized down the road by developers, we should see some really cool things happening with it. So if you guys want to learn more about either the Apple iPhone 5S or the 5C, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.